Hi friends, this is Miss Pam here with you again today, and I have a very exciting lesson that I hope you will enjoy as much as I do. So today we're going to do another in our Simple Machine series called Screws, Nuts, and Bolts. And here is the book that we use in our classroom. Okay, and today's lesson is taken directly from the text and the pictures, and we're also going to do some exploration of different toys and things from around our homes that use screws, nuts, and bolts. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so this page is for adults mostly, and then students, when we get to the next page, I'll tell you what your jobs are. So if we were in the classroom, these are the objectives that I would be working on with you. While you're at home with mom and dad, your job is to work with them to do the same things that we would be doing at school. So given modified grade level text or picture cards, resources, manipulatives, and adult assistance, students will tend to a reader by using eye gaze or body language, search the environment for objects related to the text, explore objects with hands, eyes, and face, use objects appropriately, point to the object when asked, and follow a first-then schedule. Okay, so students, your big job, and it's always a fun job when you're with Miss Pam learning, your first job is to learn how toys use screws, nuts, and bolts to move, make sound, and or stay still. So I'm holding up my school bus here, and we're going to use this in just a minute to learn how screws, nuts, and bolts work. So first, read the story. Next, search your home with your family for objects that you can use to explore. Then ask your parents to help you explore how to move items with screws, nuts, and bolts. Then point to the objects when you hear the words screws, nuts, bolts. Your biggest job is to have fun and explore your toys, because that's how we learn best, is when we're given time to explore and experience things firsthand. Okay, so let me just make sure we're on the right page. So let me show you a few of the items we're going to be using today. I showed you the cover of the book. Here is my school bus. We're going to be using that. Also, you know, Miss Pam always has her own tools in the classroom. So today, I'm going to be using my own set of screwdrivers to show you how I sometimes repair my eyeglasses. I'm also going to be using one of Matthew's video games. And I have some things from my kitchen that we're going to use. And I have a cool, some other cool toys, but I'm going to hold on to those for just a minute. And we're going to go ahead and move to the next page. So our book is titled Screws, Nuts, and Bolts. The author is Sean Smith. And this book was published in the year 2013, as it says here on our Verso page. And I always like to include this page because I always want to give credit to the author and to make known who the publisher is. We always want to give credit due to the resources that help us when we learn. This is our table of contents, and it tells us the exact page we need to go to for a specific topic. Okay, so we're going to start in the beginning. Different toys. There are many different kinds of toys. So on this page, in the upper left-hand corner in the blue rectangle, we see a kite. And we know that a kite is powered by the wind, energy produced by the wind. In the next rectangle, we see a starfish and an octopus that look like they might be plastic toys we could use in the pool or in the bathtub. On the bottom row on the left is a toy car. It looks like it might be big enough for someone who's short. They can ride on it and push with their legs and then steer with their hands. It has wheels and it's yellow and red. And in the last picture on the right, bottom row, we see a toy bulldozer, and it looks like it has a scoop or a big shovel on the front, so when you put it in a sandbox it can scoop up sand. So that looks like a fun toy to play with. Toys work in different ways. Some toys use screws. So we can see in the picture, this is the bottom of a toy car, and it looks like the arrow is showing us where one of the screws might go in to hold the bottom of the car to the top piece of the car. Oops, let's go back. A screw is like a nail with a spiral wrapped around it. So here the diagram is showing us a picture of a nail right in the middle, and then the spiral metal piece gets wrapped around it and turns it into a screw. That is a very interesting picture. We use screws to hold things together. So in this picture of a yellow chick, we can see there is a screw on the back right about here, and it's holding the body of the chick together so that when you play with it, it stays in one piece and doesn't fall apart. I want you to remember this picture because this one is going to be important at the end of our book. Okay, so look at that picture and look at the screw, and just remember that they're using this screw to hold the whole toy together to keep it safe for you to play with. The spiral on a screw makes it hard to pull out. So here in this picture we see a toy truck with a tractor trailer on the back and a picture of the spiral and where the screw is placed. Again, they're using this screw to hold the front piece of the toy to the back piece to keep it functional and also to keep it safe for you to play with and explore. Screws hold this car together. Much like the truck in the previous picture, we see the top piece has been taken off this car, and we can see the screws at the bottom of the orange rectangle. The screws hold the top piece on the car to keep it safe so that we can play with it without getting hurt. Screws hold this computer game together. So that's one of the things we're going to be looking at in a few minutes is Matthew's computer game, to see how the screws hold the case onto the bottom piece. Some toys use nuts and bolts, and in the picture we can see some nuts which look very similar to screws. They're usually about this long, and then bolts which are more hexagonal shape, and they work together to hold objects and to keep them safe. So again, here's bolt and nut. This picture is probably a little more clear. And that's a good thing to explore with, but don't put it in your mouth. Just practice putting the pieces together and see how they interlock. Nuts and bolts hold things together too. So in this picture we see the girl is holding up a toy wagon, And we can see in the picture where the nuts and bolts have been placed to hold the wheels to the body of the wagon and also the handle of the wagon to the body, so that when the wagon is pulled, it can be steered safely, and it makes it fun to play with. Two pieces have holes. In this skateboard, a bolt goes through the holes. So in the picture, we see two wheels, we see holes in the axle pieces, and that's where the bolt and the nut go through and attach together. Okay, that would be something fun for you to explore with Mom and Dad. If they would take the pieces apart for you, you could hold them with your hand and feel them, and then you and Mom and Dad work together, hand in hand, to put it back together and tighten the mechanism. A nut goes on the end of the bolt. It holds the pieces together. Nuts and bolts hold this jungle gym together. That's a fun thing to play with. Nuts and bolts hold this scooter together. That's fun to play with, especially in the summertime. We have to turn a screw to push it in. We have to turn a screw to pull it out. So you turn clockwise to do one action and counterclockwise to do another action. And I'm going to show you how I do that in just a minute. We have to turn a nut to put it on a bolt. So once you place the nut on the bolt and turn it, it gets tighter, and then it's able to do its job. We use a screwdriver to turn a screw. And I showed you my screwdriver, and I'm going to be using that in just a minute. We use a wrench to turn a nut. So that's a different tool that we can use to help us. Which one of these toys uses screws? So now that we've read the book, let's look at these pictures again and see which one we might remember from the text. In rectangle A, it looks like there are a lot of inflatable toys. I don't remember talking about inflatable toys in our book. Do you remember that? In picture B is a toy chick, which is plastic, and it has a screw in the back that holds all the pieces together so that you can play with it safely. I think I might remember seeing that on page 8. So if you need to go back into the book to look for the answer, try looking near page 8. In block C, we see a barn with some animals outside. I don't remember reading about those. And in rectangle D, we see some bouncing balls, a soccer ball, football, basketball. I don't remember reading about those either. So you go back in the book and tell me what you think the best answer is. And here in our glossary, we see the vocabulary words we talked about today: bolt, nut, screw. And there's our index if we want to go to a specific page in the book or to investigate further about this topic. There's some resource information there. Okay, so there's our book, Screws, Nuts, and Bolts. Okay, we are getting near the end of this video. So what I'm going to do is make a second video and pick up at this slide right here where we can do exploration and talk about some questions related to the story. So thank you for being good listeners, and I want you to go on to the next video so that we can continue for a few more minutes and talk about how to explore and how to check for our learning. Okay, I'll see you in the next video.